Hi, everybody. Before you get ready to listen to another great interview, please do me a favor and subscribe. We could really use the help. We're a safe haven for your inner geek. If you love great interviews and fun, interesting, geeky content, then we're definitely the right place for you. Now let's enjoy that show. Here we go.
Got it.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. So excited today. I've got actress Muretta Moss with me. So welcome, Muretta.
Hi, thank you so much. Lovely to be here. And we just chatted, but I didn't tell you how to say my name, and you got it.
Did I get it?
Yeah, some people mess that up, but you got it, Muretta.
Well, you know, you're podcasting now, so if you don't know, you will know. It is stressful. People's names are very stressful because you don't want to mess up somebody's name.
Yeah, I hear you, because it's like, I'm so thankful. I respect you coming on, and I want to honor you by saying your name right.
Right.
But names are hard sometimes.
I have, I normally will research ahead of time and just try to find someone saying the name so I can just, I can hear it and mimic that, which works most of the time. But there's been a few times where whoever I listened to, they messed it up and the person didn't correct them. So then I messed it up. And then I always, when I'm not sure, I always ask. They'll be like,
oh, yeah.
No. And I'm like, well, okay.
I had,
but in my defense.
yeah, right. I had one the other day, and we were chatting, and I was like, oh, it's actually Muretta. And then as soon as the podcast rolled, it was Muretta or something. I was like, oh, I don't want to correct you while we're chatting.
I know. It's just, it's very awkward, but I think you have a very Hollywood name. Like that's a good name for Hollywood.
Thanks, Muretta Moss. Yeah, I can see it in lights.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a family name? Where did that name come from?
It is a family name. I had a great aunt named Muretta, and apparently she was one of like 8 children, and she was named after a heroine in some romance novel. That's the story.
Very nice.
Yet to find that romance novel. But then in Italian, Muretta is a word that means low wall. Like you have a wall, but it's like a low wall. And I was, this years old when I found that out, and I was like, why didn't anyone tell me? I've spent time in Italy. No one mentioned that. So
see, now it makes me wish I had named one of the girls Muretta, because then Muretta Wall.
Oh, yeah.
Or would that be low wall?
Low wall. Even better.
Well, Muretta, thank you so much, because I've been looking forward to this one. Been a fan of yours for a little while, and then I found out that you're starting a podcast, and I was all right, fellow podcaster.
Yeah, well, and I've got like a few episodes out, and it's challenging. I mean, hats off, because you think you just like show up and talk, but there's like stuff that goes on.
There's a little bit of work involved if you want to do it halfway decent. There's plenty of them out there that they're obviously just winging it, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the quality is quite as good as it could be if you put a little bit of work into it.
Right. And there's so many podcasts out there that's like, why would I listen to this one that is like, I can barely hear or what have you. So
that's the biggest, I think, difficulty in podcasting is just getting your content heard, because there's so much, so much.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's just fun.
It is. It's fun. Like you get to talk to new people. It is fun. Yeah.
Well, I love the idea about your podcast. Since we're talking about it, I might as well talk about it, because you're talking about parenting from a step parent's perspective, which I love. I'm a step parent myself, and it's very rewarding, but very difficult. But there's nothing out there talking about it from a step parent side.
Yeah, I really didn't find anything. And I came to a point was like, oh, this seems harder than it should be. I need help. And podcasts are just so, we're in our cars so much. Walking at the gym. I love podcasts. So I was looking for, like, that was kind of I was looking for more community and interaction like that and did not find it. So I didn't find even like quality ones. And not to say now it's funny that there are more kind of individual podcasts that talk about like an episode on step parenting or what have you.
Right.
So you just have to dig a little deeper. So there is quality out there, but I was like, I think I can do this. I want to learn more, and what a great outlet. I like podcasting to be able to share it with other people. So yeah, I talk about step parenting, but I ask a lot of questions because I talk to a divorce lawyer, I talk to a family therapist, and even like my friend and I are going, who's a step parent. We've watched the movie Stepmom, and we're gonna like dissect it.
I love that.
Too. Yeah,
I love that. Wasn't there a stepfather movie though that was not good? Like he was a bad guy.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to search that one and do another episode on that.
Yeah. Because it seems to me that you'll have to look, because I'm probably completely wrong, but it seems like there was like 2 or 3 of them.
It does seem like that's definitely something that they would do,
and he was just a bad guy, but apparently people liked him enough he kept coming back. What is the name of your podcast?
The Counter Parenting Podcast.
Yeah.
And you can go to counterparentingpodcast.com if you want to, email me, like you have a question or what have you.
Yeah.
That's where you can go there.
I think it's a really great topic, because I know just from my perspective, the most difficult thing for everybody is that combining of families. When you're bringing a new dynamic to a group that already exists, that can be very difficult to kind of find, a rhythm as a parent. It's difficult on the kids because, kids want things to work out, but it's, change is hard. And then even looking at it, if you go deeper, if you look back at previous relationships, or if you're dealing with, let's say in my case, the actual father, that's a dynamic that you don't really consider, but it's an important dynamic, because for the kids, everybody wants to get along. So you have to consider that. So I don't know. To me, that's a very fascinating subject. So
thank you. So did you have kids going into it, or you combined families and then what happened?
We did. So my wife and I, when we got together, we both had 2, right? So when we combined, we had 4, and we were lucky enough, that our exes, we get along well with them. So there's a lot of parenting in different directions and sharing information, and then you're adding in their new spouses. It's a lot. And you have to, as parents, you have to kind of navigate that, but also as children, and in our case, they were all fairly young, very difficult. And it was a struggle, and looking back now, so happy that we hung in there, because you can see the kids getting along and treating each other as family, and they're looking back on it as a positive experience, when at the time they probably wouldn't have said this is a positive experience,
Right. Yeah, it's so true. But like, man, there's a lot of people to love them. You got like on each side. Yeah. Right. Sometimes they just don't want that, because they feel, what I've learned is that they sometimes just feel loyal to that one parent. And if that's right, they show love to another, then
it's just hard. I mean, looking at it from a child's viewpoint, that's really difficult, because you're so loyal and loving with your parents. That's difficult to add someone in. And I think, it's as from the parent side, it's difficult not to over inject yourself. You try to force yourself in. You really got to find a way to fit in and be able to parent without just, forcing the issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You're right. It is complicated. Yes.
I know. That's why I was like, that's a great idea for a podcast, because there's so many different ways you could could look at it. You need to have a younger person on to talk about their perspective.
Yes, that, I mean, I don't want to bring like my own stepkids into it because, you know, they're like, we don't have, it is not all copacetic in the households. And I'm sure they're like, well, if mom and dad don't get along when they're together, like they don't get along now, I would rather have them not get along in the same house. But yeah, I haven't had them on the podcast yet, but I've talked to some adults that have been like step parent, like that were stepkids and their experience. But a child's perspective would be like almost terrifying. But you know, like so vulnerable. It would be so eye-opening too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's really interesting. You know, we just from our perspective, you know, if you talk to the kids now and they look back at that time, they'll tell you that they wish that they hadn't been so difficult. Whereas where I'm looking at it, I'm like, you guys weren't difficult at all. You were just adjusting, you know?
Yeah.
And that makes me feel bad to think that they actually thought that they weren't, you know, doing something that they should when they were just being themselves and legitimately trying to adjust.
Yeah. It's already hard to grow up and then having to adjust to new people in your life and losing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You could do a lot of episodes on that podcast.
I could. I'm wondering if I will though.
Well, yeah, it's a commitment. It's a commitment. Yes. And for that material, I'm sure you'll put a positive spin on it, but that can be some difficult subject matter and it can open up some subjects that might be tough.
Yeah. And I don't want to like, I don't want I'm like a sensitive about myself being like a mom, getting that like rap by just simply doing this podcast and talking about it.
Yeah, I know. Do you think? So when you refer to yourself, do you you know, what do you or when you refer to the kids, you know, do you say this is my son or daughter? Or is this your stepchildren, right?
Yeah, I usually I usually be like, this is so and so and so and so. They're my partner's kids. And
because I think that's tricky too, because you don't want them to feel like they're different, you know, but you don't want to be stepping on their parents' toes.
Oh, definitely not. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And and I think they would be like, what did you just say? I think that they wouldn't, because I think
for us, if you just ask me how many kids do you have, I'll say 4.
Oh, I do say like, oh yeah, we have 2 kids, or like, you know, but that
if they go into more detail, then you might say, well, you know, 2 are mine, 2 are my spouses.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But
that's how we got on this, but it was very.
Yeah, it was good. I'm gonna have you on as a guest on mine now.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. If you put me on the opposite end of it, I might freeze up. I don't know.
I doubt that. You're a pro.
When you podcast over time, because I'm an introvert, so it's difficult for me to be any type of focus of attention. But with podcasting, it helps you get over that. If you just have a conversation and you're not always the center of attention, you know, you can put the focus on you.
I say the same thing. I go, this isn't an interview. This is a conversation we're having, as I, as well as an introvert, but I also feel it was so much more vulnerable because I didn't have I had an outline, but I didn't have it all scripted out. I wasn't reading off a teleprompter or anything memorized. So I, as an actress stepping into a podcast role, was like, oh gosh, having conversations is hard.
It's good though. It's to me, I would much rather have a conversation talking about things that you have done or questions I have, rather than just peppering you with the same type of questions where it's just an actual interview.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm sure you get a ton of those, and they're great.
Yeah.
There's a ton
Yeah.
of them.
But you do, in a way, when you say the same thing over and over again, it starts to make you think you're inauthentic because you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I already shared this with someone. You could just watch that.
we watch a lot of the late night talk shows, and you run into that. You know, when someone has something to promote, they will bounce from talk show to talk show, and after 2 or 3 times, you're like, I can't tell if that's genuine or if that's just part of the act and promotion. I don't know.
Yeah, they share the same story. So this is when I was I lived in LA for a while, and I had some friends who were stand-up comedians, and you go see their show, and you kind of see a lot of the same people. And I did not realize that comedy acts were rehearsed like to perfection. I literally thought that they were just up there sharing funny stories off the fly. And that, I know it's so weird now looking back after like being in it all, but I was like, oh my gosh, what? He just shared that. I just saw him, like, because we would go to like show to show to show sometimes in one night, and you'd see the same people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the exact same story he just told.
Yeah.
And now that's how it's done.
Don't look too far behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You don't want to know.
It's like when I found out Friends was filmed in LA, another one that was like, yeah, a New York show.
Same. I know. Same. Well, I found out because we've had a lot of people from Vancouver on the show, and they film a lot of shows that take place in New York in Vancouver, and that just blew me away. Like,
yeah. Oh. Movie magic.
I've been to a few talk shows live, and my advice is don't do that, because it kind of messes up, because it's kind of scripted.
Mm-hmm.
Even the audience participation is kind of scripted. They kind of cue you in to laugh or to clap, and I'm like, I didn't like that as well.
Yeah. I saw it when I was younger, went out went to visit LA. I saw Jay Leno, and I think I've only been on the show twice or been to the show, but I actually he used to do audience questions, and I was like an audience member that like stood up twice, I think, like years apart, but I was like, oh, wow. Well, I don't know, but yeah, you're right. Like the laugh track, or not the laugh track, but like literally the applause box and stuff. Yeah,
it's interesting. For me, maybe some people will love that. I prefer the mystery. So you have been in a Loud House Christmas, which is awesome, because I'm really fascinated with the fact that they took this animated series that is a huge hit on Nickelodeon, and they made it into a live action movie, basically.
Yeah. I mean, just to have that idea, because in the Loud House, there are like 11 kids in the Loud family, and then they all have friends and such. So just someone was like, I want to do a live action show with 11 children at one time. And because that was it was like, I would say the most fun, but it was also very challenging because these kids were in school at the time. And, it's hard to get 11 people total in one place at one time. And to have the kids, it was really funny, but I'm so glad that they did it, because the transformations from the animated show to the live action, I thought were like spot on.
Really good.
Yeah,
really good. And I thought they did a really nice job giving each family member at least their moment, because with that big a cast, it's difficult for everybody to have a little moment, but they did that.
They did. I wish it was like a little longer, because I love these kids so much. I wanted to see more of them. But they all had their moment to shine, and they did a great job.
I know. Will there be a sequel?
I don't know.
I'm putting it out there.
Well, thank you. I just keep saying TBD because it was such a great hit and everyone got along and the cast was so great. That I mean, it just seems to make sense that there would be.
Make sense, but they got to move fast because kids grow so fast.
Yes, I know. So that slightly terrifies me as like, because we as a cast, like just we were the Louds, but we were also just a family on an offset. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to see anyone get switched out because they're now like a foot taller or changed their voice. Yeah.
And it can happen just in a couple months.
Yeah.
I know. So you got to play Rita, which is the mom, the Loud family mom. Did you get a chance to meet the lady that voices her from the animated series?
I didn't know. I know. And I was pretty nervous about, because Jill Talley is the woman who does, she's on like the SpongeBob show. Like talented. She's very talented and they, they've been doing the show for 5 seasons now. I sent her an Instagram message, but we're not friends on Instagram. So it probably just went into her like, and I don't, so I tried to like reach out, but I also am very careful about like not being intrusive. She's a busy woman,
Right.
I don't.
I'm the opposite, which is probably why one of a million reasons why I would be a terrible actor. I'm a fan, so if I would reach out, I would probably overreach out. So it's probably best I just stay out of it.
Oh, I don't know. They're always like, be aggressive. You got to do that. But when you start a project, at least for me, I got like insecure and I didn't know.
Well, you're stepping into a role that has been, even though it's on the animated side, it's been done for a while. So you want to do it justice.
Yeah. In a way, it makes it like looking back, I was like, it makes it easier. But at the time starting it, I was very worried about creating or holding her true to character. But then once you get in wardrobe and, the hair and makeup and then the director, everyone, like the script, everything made it really easier than it was. I thought it was actually pretty easy. Like you put on that coral cardigan and I'm like, hello, Rita Loud.
Yeah, that's pretty great. See, now I'm going to give you an idea so you can steal it if you want. But this is what I would do. I would get a hold of her and then do a YouTube channel together where it's you playing Rita, but it's her voice.
Oh.
I would watch that.
Yeah, where she's like dubbing over my lines. Yes. Oh, that's a great idea.
I know. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm an idea guy.
It's good. I like it. Yeah, I was saying if there was if we did something else with the live action stuff, I feel like the behind the scenes people would be into creating that.
Yeah, see, I think that would be really good. But now they also need to have you do a guest spot on the animated series. Oh, yeah. Just as somebody.
I know. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thank you for putting that out because it's so funny. I was like, oh, that would be great. But these voiceover actors are so talented. They do like 5 different roles.
No, it's more difficult to get into voice acting than it is to acting, I think.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, because they can just do anything.
It's a smaller group.
Yep.
Yeah. I have enough trouble with my own voice. I could not do anybody else's.
I have trouble remembering if I'm switching between characters. I have friends who do audiobook narration and I'm like, I would forget what that one sounded like and make that character sound completely different in the next chapter. Yeah.
You said that you spent some time in Boston. Can you do a Boston accent?
I can. Yeah, I'm sure I could, but I would have to think about it a little bit. And hear. and then my mom, like, she still says like tonic, and well, that's not how she sounds. But she's like, and garage, and like she talks like a Boston person. And so being around her for a minute, we'll pick it up.
Is she still in Boston?
No, she's in Georgia as well. We moved, and we moved when I was like 10. So I
was asking, we were talking about the weather before we got on the air, but Boston's getting like 1 foot to 2 foot or 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And they're just going to continue their life like normal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it won't. Yeah, I know. Like in LA or Texas, if it flurries, they shut everything down. But on the East Coast, it takes a lot more than that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well,
in Georgia too, we shut down. We're pretty frightful.
Yeah. Well, when you're not used to the cold weather, I don't even, like most states, if you don't normally get snow, you probably don't have salt trucks or anything out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there is a reason to worry because we don't have I would say infrastructure. We don't have the machines and stuff in place. But yeah. I mean, I wasn't around. There was like a big blizzard 7 years ago. Shut down the interstate, but I was still in LA at that time.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So when my son and I were talking about starting a podcast, he used to do these on camera with me. Now he does all the hard stuff. He edits, and he figured out he doesn't like on camera. But when we were starting about it, we had this idea. We're like, what if we did a podcast about postal inspectors that solved crime?
No way. No.
Yes.
No.
And then, like, it's a year or two later, I'm looking, I'm like, son of a gun.
Yeah. Beat you to it. Yeah. The inspectors. That's like, it was a cute, there's a lot of drama that happens with the U.S. Postal
Apparently
Service.
So. It was on for several years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to play a postal inspector, which was fun. Yeah.
Did you get a badge?
I did.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I used it. Yeah.
Do you carry a gun? Do they carry a gun?
No.
It was more of a kid's show, right? It was like a Saturday morning show.
Yeah, I'm almost positive none of them had guns on. There was like a nice belt that probably could have held one.
Yeah.
But even like in my episode, we did a raid and no one was holding a gun. I think I was just holding the badge because it's like usually different type of bad guys that mess through the postal system. Because you don't have like runners. I think like big time criminals probably have like runners to run their stuff. But if you're small time, you gotta put some stamps in the mail and
you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So you guys we were gonna do it. We were gonna do it.
Where would you have gotten your stories though? Like just research? My son writes. So I was putting all of it on him. And I was like, well, you're gonna have to write it. You're the idea person.
I'm the idea person. I just came up with the idea. You're going to have to write it. And that's ultimately why we didn't do it. He's like, Dad, where would I find this?
Well, just watch that TV show.
I was like, now, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we found it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a kick out of that because it's actually, I've seen a few episodes. It's actually pretty well done. Because even though it's was made for like a Saturday morning, there's some drama in it. There's a little tension. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was a great cast, and I agree. Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
So I also saw you on where you also played a mom was Dwight in Shining Armor.
Oh yeah, that was a quickie like that, but it was fun. I played a mom, and I always when you're a mom on and you have a child on set, it's like so much is just like keeping that child in their wardrobe. Even
though it's not really your child, you are responsible for them.
So I had a great experience with that, but like that child was such a presence and so funny. And I can't remember. I'm bad with names anyway. But I cannot remember her name right now. So gosh, forgive me. But she was just a character all on her own. And like, you know, when you're running, like they call action, and like, even though the camera is not on you yet, you still have to be quiet and things. And she's just chatting, telling stories and taking her shoes off, like, cause she just to be funny, she was tooting all over the place. And then it turned out like we were in a neighborhood, there was a parade, and her dad was like 10 feet away from us as an extra the whole time. And I was like, whoa, wait, you could have been doing this?
That's right. That's right. He knew too.
Sure. The
Like,
mom was across the street, and I was like, yeah, but he knew. He was just having his own fun.
He was having fun. We had Sloan Morgan Siegel on the show, and which is why I watched Dwight in Shining Armor, and there you were. I was like, so then when we set this one up, I was like, well, I know one thing, I have seen her in.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. It's a cute show. I love being on these kid shows because kids are so talented, and
they really are.
Yeah, I mean, more so than I was as a child. I could never be a child actor.
I'd be a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
But they're little pros.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell they're made for it. You know. Yeah. They're like, yeah. I can see why you're here.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I wanted to ask you about, wait a minute, before I do that, I was trying to go back and say, well, we always play this game when I have somebody on. I go around and ask everybody in the family, what have you seen this person on? So the consensus from those of us that are a little older seem to think we may have seen you in Road Trip briefly. Is that true?
Maybe. Yeah. So there was like a deleted scene in Road Trip.
That's what we thought. That it was like a DVD extra, something like that.
Yeah. So that was like the first set I was ever on. It was amazing. And it got me into why I wanted to be an actor, because it was filming at my college, and we stepped out like as just like regular extras, like college students in the quad, and it was that movie magic. I like to look behind the curtain, I guess, because I was like, look at all these people, hundreds of people, like, and it looks like chaos, but they are creating and all like this weird like symphony of.
It was a fun movie.
It was, yeah, it was fun. And like Todd Phillips, I mean, he's like their director. He's huge now.
Oh, yeah, he's big now.
Yeah. But then like we all auditioned with a local casting director, and then some of us became like sorority girls, and which is funny because I'm not a sorority girl in college. So it was fun, I guess, to get that little
experience.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Well, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, did you do like theater while you were in high school or anything, or once you got to college, was that like your first exposure to it?
So I had taken, acting class as an elective in high school. Yes. I remember once, like my first experience auditioning was because my sister was involved in theater in high school, and I was in middle school, and we all went to audition for Charlotte's Web at some local theater company in downtown Atlanta. And I had no idea what to do. Like I was reading, like when the stage direction came, I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't know what to do. And obviously I did not get cast, but I very much remember that being like, oh yeah, I was not a child actor. And even in high school, I was more drawn to, like we had peer leaders. So I got into, you had to audition, get into advanced production. Right. I got into that, but it was the same period as being a peer leader. And when I was in peer leaders, like I had a peer leader, she was this like, when I was in 8th grade and like we went to the high school to tour it, this woman who I think she was Miss Georgia eventually, but she was just I was starstruck. I wanted to be, her name was Patty Dunn. I mean, I don't know what she's doing now, but I was so starstruck. She just led us around the school like this queen bee. And I was like, I want to be a peer leader like her. And so I chose that. And then, so I didn't really have much experience or even that draw to theater. And I love theater and I have done it, but I have more of a draw to film and TV, to like improv or like that type of stage performance. So yeah, once I stepped on that road trip set, I was like, get me to acting class. And that's when I started taking it seriously.
Well, did you play sports in school? Were you in the band, anything like that?
So I was just like a little bit of everything, just very normal. Like we had like regular class, honors, and gifted, and I was like the honors kid, like you just like right in that middle,
right in the middle,
not standing out. I ran track one year, played like tennis for the neighborhood, like I did everything. I ice skated, but I only did it for like a year. I was like, okay, that was fun. What else?
You're just trying it out.
Yeah, I'm good at I'm decent at everything. I think that's a good way to put it.
I've said that my entire life. I'm like, I'm good at a lot of things. I'm not great at any of them.
Right. So when I was applying for college, I went to one school, and this woman was talking. She's like, we're not looking for well-rounded students. We're looking for a well-rounded student body. And that shook me to my core, because if anything, I am well-rounded. I am not exceptional. So I mean, that's still that woman, like it made me think I wanted to commit more fully to something. But I think as an actor, I love that I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. I think that helps me in this career more than if I was a classical violinist or pianist or whatever.
I think that's what I'm going to start saying when people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm well-rounded.
Yeah.
I should have been putting that on resume through the years.
Yeah. Not exceptional, well-rounded.
So tell me about The Glorias.
So The Glorias is a biopic about Gloria Steinem, and it's directed by Julie Taymor, and it has like a stellar cast. And
amazing
and honestly, I was a day player. I had but I got to interview Alicia Vikander. And
very nice.
And
it's a Tomb Raider.
We were I just like those experiences, because she's like in my eyes, a star. So I was sitting, you just sit next to them in the makeup room sometimes, before COVID. Now we're like more spread out.
Yeah, now they're spread out.
But we're all just in there together, like in hair and makeup. We're all the same. But that was really great, because I am I consider myself a raging feminist. I understand some people don't like that word, and I don't, but to me, I'm like, I'm a raging equality person.
That's right. It over time, it is at different times had a negative connotation unfairly. Unfairly. But now, to me anyway, it seems like now it's not necessarily. It's kind of like when I was growing up, you didn't want to be known as a geek.
Oh.
Now everybody's a geek.
Yeah.
Now, being a feminist, that's not a bad thing. Where there was a period of time there where that wasn't necessarily looked on.
So funny. So being a feminist, I'm a huge Gloria Steinem fan, and was at the Women's March, which very they nice. Showed in the movie. So that was in my I was in there twice, playing the reporter, and also amazing. As someone at the Women's March. Yeah, but that's really funny you say that about a geek and a nerd, because I always say I'm geeky, but I'm not a nerd, because I don't hold that nerd knowledge.
Well, that's right. That's the difference. Awkward. Yeah. That, again, we're well-rounded.
Yes.
Geeky, not nerdy.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask about, you do some writing. So you did dark comedy Intersection. I want to make sure.
Mhm.
Tell me about that one.
So Intersection is a new media series looking at a community in Atlanta and them going through gentrification. Like we have all these up and coming neighborhoods that you see people get displaced and like the Whole Foods or the Trader Joe's moves in and how it affects, this series shows how it affects the neighborhood and the lives in the neighborhood. I play a real estate agent, Mary Margaret. I have real estate experience in my own life. So I took that and it's how I was able, like my character was written a lot on my own experiences as a real estate agent.
I love that. I love that. So is it out there now? Can we watch that?
It is not. It is in we're hoping for a big festival debut. So we are still like waiting to hear back from some festivals.
Oh, I'm sure that's a great idea. You'll hear back from a lot of them.
I hope so. Yeah, it was we worked on it a long time. There was a lot of research that went in because I give myself the area to make mistakes, but I don't want to talk about something that's not my place. And I don't know. So it was definitely complicated. Gentrification is complicated. Yeah. So we even rewrote it. We were supposed to shoot it right when the pandemic started. And then we were like, ooh, I don't know. None of us knew what was happening. So we shut down and then we basically rewrote it for the next year and shot it in spring of 2021.
That's exciting. Yeah, well, good. I'll keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
Did you also direct or did you bring somebody else in to direct?
There's 6 episodes and I think we had 3 different directors. So we just tried to get some different viewpoints and experiences in there. I was a co-writer and helped produce it, which when you're producing, it's exhausting. I mean, especially on these type of projects, you're making sure the craft services table is stocked, and there's chairs out for lunch. There's just a lot to cover, especially when you're and we were so great because days we were acting, we were just able to wear our actor hat instead of our producing hat.
Yeah, producing is interesting because if it's a large project, sometimes producing is just about giving money. But if it's a smaller project, you got to wear a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to give the money and work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that your first time writing, or had you written before this?
No, I've written before. One of the first things I wrote was I'm an ideas person, so I really love to write in groups.
Yeah.
So, but one of the first things was Dyed, Highlighted, and Hopeful.
Yes.
And it was a web series and it was on the Hello Giggles platform, which is a really great, positive website for girls and for anyone, but it was specifically aimed for helping girls, and be positive and stuff. So that was my first experience writing and then creating it, and it was super fun.
What was that show about?
So, it was before I knew quite what I was doing. So I didn't quite have the tag or pitch line down, but let's just say it was following 3 friends and their escapades that didn't involve boys or drama. It was just positive curiosity, adventure. That's
very different than most things that are out there.
Yeah, well, that's why we didn't want to talk about boys. We wanted to have our own adventures. It reminds me a little bit of the Authenticity. I mean, this is probably not fair to Ted Lasso to compare it to that show because I love that show. But just the Authenticity. You think sometimes oh, this is going to happen, or there's going to be more evil drama,
right?
But you're oh no, these people really are good people. Besides, no spoiler alerts. Do you watch that show?
Ted Lasso? Oh yeah. I'm very disappointed in him.
Okay, yeah, right.
I did not like that turn, that heel turn that he did.
But that's the only real turn that we see. I think, because everyone else is I like how you can have like a arc in a show or a story without all this like bad stuff happening.
Yeah, agreed. I think we need more positive shows. You know, it used to be that every show wrapped up with a happy ending, no matter what was going on.
Yeah.
But then, you know, at some point that changed, and then everything was more, you know, kind of gray. You know, it didn't always end happily. But now it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
I want the happy endings back.
It hurts my nervous system because if you're watching like an indie movie, you're like, oh, there's so much opportunity for this to end well. I don't think it's going to.
No, it never does anymore.
It does. No.
A lot of times it just ends.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
And honestly, I do love those movies because it's it like gets you feeling. And I'm trying to be more comfortable with that feeling of just unknowns, like just letting it be, because that's so much of life we can't control.
It is. It's more true to life.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of miss the happy ending.
Sure.
As you get older, at least with me, that's all I want. I don't want to worry. I don't want to, after the show, be lying around going, oh man, I wonder what happened to those guys. I want to know all wrapped up in a bow and I can just go sleep.
Yeah. And when I watch, there's some shows, and I'm not going to name it, but there's one show I just finished watching, and I would wake up the next morning after watching an episode and being like, I don't feel like in a good mood. Like, I think sometimes these darker shows,
they get to you.
They affect me. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm assuming is the point. You know, at least they're on your mind.
I guess. But like with all the killings and the lying, I don't want.
Life's hard enough.
Yeah.
Well, Muretta, this has been terrific. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it really has. I've been great talking to you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. A couple things before you go. Anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
I, as much as I would love to say, catch me in this, life of an actor is very much TBD. So,
that's right.
I think 2022 is already lining up to be a great year. I'm excited for what's happening next, but it's also like just ... We'll see, Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So Loud House Christmas still on Nickelodeon, Paramount?
Yeah, it's on Paramount Plus. You can stream it. And even if you're like, it's Christmas, check it out. It's such a fun family Christmas movie. I feel like even adults like enjoy it, and like there's just a lot going on. So we
watched it with the grandkids, and they're little, but they enjoyed it. They actually, how much they got, I don't know, but they stopped and watched, and it's pretty good.
Oh, good. Look at you, a granddad.
I've got 4, but the oldest is just 2.5. So
that's fun.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah. It's exhausting, but I send them home.
Yeah.
Once I get tired, I send them home.
Nice.
So where can we find the podcast?
So you can get the Counter Parenting Podcast wherever you get your podcast. iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, just everywhere. Yeah, it gets just sent out. And but you can also go to counterparentingpodcast.com, and I have like a link, and you can watch the video of it if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, that's where I went.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's really good. So last thing, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Muretta Moss. So yeah, I always say I get a little social media fatigue sometimes, but
we all do.
Yeah, but like when I don't, I'm there.
That's right. Well, and Instagram's not too bad because it's mostly sharing pictures.
Yeah.
That one's not terrible. That's not terrible.
No,
and I followed you on Instagram.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Oh, I'll have to follow you back. Sometimes I just a lot comes through. So it's hard.
It's so much.
Yeah. I'm just such so many followers. It's hard to keep track.
I just can't keep up.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. You absolutely have to come back and do it again.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I look forward to it.
All right. Hold on one second. All right. So that was the talented Muretta Moss. I hope you guys enjoyed that. She is terrific. Check out the podcast, Counter Parenting, and make sure you watch A Loud House Christmas. Loved it. Thought it was really good. She did Rita credit. She was really, really good. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Really appreciate that. You can help us by subscribing. YouTube, Meisterkhan Pod. That would help us a ton. You can listen to all 350 episodes, audio and video, on our website, meisterkhan.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering conventions, whatever we're doing, it'll be on there, meisterkhan.com. So definitely check that out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye, everybody.